Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. After ISIS struck Paris, they released a video threatening to hit America. Here's a story we did about an author who presents a chilling scenario about how ISIS could use the same tactics that Hamas has used against Israel: terror tunnels. During the war, Hamas terrorists used an intricate series of tunnels to carry out sneak attacks. While IDF soldiers stopped those attacks, the tunnels shocked Israelis. At the time, CBN News chronicled their scope and size. The tunnels are designed to infiltrate Israeli communities like this one close to the border. Gaza is just about a mile that direction, and some of these tunnels are more than a mile long, 60 feet deep, with multiple exits. It proves that Hamas has been planning this for a very long time. Israel destroyed many of the tunnels, but the frightening memory remains. Dan Gordon, a veteran of 6 Israeli wars, talked about their effectiveness.
And I can't imagine anything more terrifying for the people who live there than the thought that suddenly the earth opens up, almost like a scene out of a grade B zombie movie, and the walking dead come out, except they're not dead. I've been a soldier now for 40 years, which is a long time. And the most terrifying thing that I've ever seen was the advent of the terrorist tunnel attacks that happened last summer.
Now, a year later, Gordon, an Israeli-American, has written Day of the Dead, a thriller about those tunnels. He says it should be a wake-up call to the U.S.
The country that's most vulnerable to that attack is my other homeland, the United States of America. And far more vulnerable because there are terrorist attack tunnels that exist already. They're called drug smuggling tunnels, and they run from parts of Mexico into California, to Arizona, and to Texas.
A former FBI agent warned recently that those tunnels could be used as an underground highway for ISIS. Gordon says the drug tunnels could make an unholy alliance between ISIS and the Mexican drug cartels.
They don't have to dig them, they just have to rent them. They have billions of dollars. That's a language that all the cartels understand.
Gordon says ISIS studied Hamas last summer.
They watched what Hamas did. They saw why it failed. They know how it can succeed. And what people don't realize is the Middle East, for ISIS, is their R&D lab. It's their Silicon Valley for what they intend to do to the United States.
He says southern border cities and towns like San Diego are vulnerable.
The reason the United States is so vulnerable to that, we don't have the surveillance over that border that Israel does. We don't have our most elite military units on constant patrol on the American-Mexican border. We have, if you want to talk about juicy targets for ISIS in San Diego, half the Pacific Fleet is at anchor in San Diego.
As an author, Gordon also wrote to entertain. One reviewer said Gordon gets into the mind of a terrorist like no one since Tom Clancy. But Gordon says it has things Clancy never included in his thrillers.
It's a big Tom Clancy, wonderful international espionage, great read. It's the first book that I know of that has a born-again Christian female graduate of Liberty University, female James Bond. At the heart of that book, the other thing is faith. At the heart of that book is something that you and I have both experienced together, which is you may think that you're in control, but the one who's in control at all times is the Almighty.
Gordon refutes the notion he's giving ideas to ISIS. He points out they've already got the blueprints. He says the U.S. needs to wake up to this clear and present danger.
I guarantee you there are people from ISIS right now who are examining U.S. cities. And like any military, there are numbers of hot young commanders who are saying, I have a great idea, and they're presenting their plans to the general staff of ISIS. One of those plans is going to get accepted, and one of those plans is going to get implemented. And if I am looking at what's the most logical plan, it's in that book, Day of the Dead.